gentlemen, we have Mr. P Sports Cards, the man, the myth, the legend. First and foremost, U.S. Marine, 21 years. Thank you for your service. How the heck are you, buddy?
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on, Joe. It's great to be here.
So excited to have you. I was talking to Scott at Lucky's Cards about 10 minutes before this, and I told him I had the chance to talk to you, and he was so excited. He's been watching your shows for a long time. I've been watching your shows for a long time. When I started just buying, I was a regular buyer back 2 years ago, and every Saturday, like I feel like you owned Saturdays, and
Nah,
I know life's been kind of busy, and I think you've been kind of like slowing down a little, but. What a pleasure it is to have you on this podcast. I really appreciate it, Sherman.
thank you for having me.
You bet, buddy. You bet. Let's jump right into the questions. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. So, before questions, sorry, I got to go through numbers. Uh, Premier Shop, not an easy thing to do. Congratulations on that. 5-star reviews, 1 day average shipping. That is so incredibly important. 14,000 cards sold, a whopping 52,000 followers. That is a ton of followers. We're going to probably talk about that later because that's a
Okay.
number that a lot of people like myself can only dream of. So it'd be very interesting to see your evolution on how you're able to get to over 50,000 followers. That's absolutely amazing. So tell me about your very first stream, if you can remember that. It was years ago, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I was speaking to my wife about that, and it's like a blur right now. It's been so long. Like 2 years seems like an eternity, but um, it flew by very quickly. And when I think back at it, I try to think like, man, what was my first show like? It was a disaster. It was like most people, I got on, my auctions weren't set up properly, my giveaways weren't set up properly. Nothing worked the way it was supposed to have worked, but I had a great community of people in the chat, and they helped me out. So we kind of pulled it through. So it wasn't great, honestly, but it was a great opportunity, and I felt optimistic by it because of the people that were in the room. One thing I do remember from my first
Yeah.
show, though, that is like really interesting was it was the end of the show, which was my shipping. I didn't have a thermal printer. It was terrible. I literally had a brother printer, and I was printing off all of my labels, and I was cutting them out and pasting them onto the bubble mailers. And then I was like, man, there's no way that this is how people are doing this. So I started reaching out to people, and I'm like, man, everyone said, you got to get a thermal printer, man. Like, what are you doing? So I got a thermal printer. It only cost me like $60 off of
Yep.
Amazon, and that was the end of it. I never looked back after that. So first
Yeah.
show wasn't.
Well, I think you and I have something in common. We started with eBay, right? We sold on eBay.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
And so eBay, it wasn't the number of transactions every day. So it's kind of easy just to use a normal printer, cut it up, tape the label on, but
correct.
whatnot, no freaking way. And
It's impossible.
you nailed the point. I mean, the number one most important thing to own is a thermal printer.
You
It's going
gotta
to
have
save
it.
you so much time. I always like I hype this is the stupidest thing that I hype, and I'm not sure if you can see it.
Yeah.
Because of the
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
This
that's pretty
thing,
cool.
the painter's tape, this is about
Wow.
this is about 15 pounds, but this will change your life. It's like 20 bucks on Amazon. I'll
Oh
put
man,
the
you know
link
that.
on here. This thing, you know what, actually, Sherman, I'm gonna buy you one. For being a special
Wow.
guest on 5 with Joel-ATX, I'm gonna
Man,
ship
that's
you one.
cool. I
That's the least
appreciate
I
you.
could do.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
cool. So, it's kind of funny it's kind of fun to think about your first show, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a great question, honest. It's a loaded question, but yeah, when I looked at your previous episodes,
Yeah.
everyone seems to have a similar theme in mind. It's everyone's a train wreck. But it's a
Yeah,
part of the
there it
process.
is.
It's a part of the
Yeah.
process.
They're supposed to be bad. I
Yeah.
mean, I will say this. I had a really good so because I was buying for 6 to 8 months beforehand. So people always say like, how are you successful? Well, you got to spend a lot of money and spend a lot of time in people's rooms and find like-minded sellers and buyers, and you create a little network. And then when
Mhm.
you go live, all of a sudden you have 10 to 20 people who already know you and they're going to support you. And so I kind of had an advantage that way, but still we've all had crappy shows. But, you're at 52,000 followers. Just it's kind of fun to sit back and remember what your first show was like. Um, Number one single piece of advice you have for a new streamer, Sherman.
Hmm. So I thinking about that. So I don't really take a different spin at it. I don't necessarily have one piece of advice, and I feel like we're just came off of Christmas, so I'm going to give them a gift basket full of good ideas. And these
Uh,
are things that I feel I kind of wrote them down because I didn't want to forget them. But shout out to Jay Swizzle Sports, him and his pops. They did an interview with me back in at the last Dallas card show, and they asked me that very same question. And it was kind of on the spot. I was nervous. I was like, it's my first time doing a real interview. And they caught me off guard. And I wanted to, I wish I could go back and redo that. And now I
Yeah.
have an opportunity to do it now on your show. Um, and I wanted to just kind of break down like a few things that are crucial. I'm not going to go into very in depth with every one of them because of sake of time, but there's a few of them that are important. So the number one thing I would say is build a solid foundation. That's the first one. Build a solid foundation. Learn how to source inventory, which we'll talk about later. Um, what else is there? Let's see. My third one, which is the most important one, is don't compare yourself to other people. Don't compare yourself to other streamers. Ship on time, value reputation, and stay consistent with the process. So going back to the build a foundation, building a foundation is important because a lot of streamers get on and like they're all over the place and like we're all trying to figure out how to do this thing called whatnot or whatever the case may be. But it's important to treat this like a business or have the end in mind. I think Lucky mentioned that. He said, keep the end in mind. Why are you doing this? Like, what did you start Whatnot for? And having that foundation of doing things right, like shipping on time, just having a good reputation, all those things are important because here's an example. If you start off your Whatnot journey and like you don't take it semi seriously, you start shipping bad, you ship bad cards, didn't look at them, didn't check the quality out, bad shipping, you didn't provide the cardboard, so the cards got damaged. And then now you start off with all these bad reviews that will demolish your rating, which the rating is what, 0 to 5 star. If you don't start off well, then that kills your rating, which people look at you and say, man, this person not someone that I trust. I don't want to come back to the show because the experience was bad. So building a solid foundation will help you because you're going to get your bad reviews from people who don't like the giveaways. For example, you may get one or two of those. But if you started your foundation off with a solid 100 5-star reviews, that one review won't hurt you as much because Whatnot operates off of averages. So just do things right, start off, doing things right and making sure that you build a solid foundation. The other one we'll talk about later, the source and inventory. We'll talk about that later. But the third one to me is the most important, and that's basically not comparing yourself to other streamers. And that's one of the ones that we spoke about with Jay Swizzle when his interview went out in Dallas. So many people are worrying about what everyone else is doing. They're comparing themselves to streamers who've been on the app for 5 years, 4 years, guys who are running cards at $1,000 and they're going for $2,000. They're seeing that and they're getting all excited, like, man, I want to be like that. Why is my show? Why do I only have 10 people in the room? Why does this person have 1,000 people in the room? And to me, the way I look at it is I see it as a pro athlete. A pro athlete starts off, maybe middle school, high school. They have 4 years there. They go off to college. They play 4 years there, and then they go to the pros and they make it look flawless. Well, that's how a lot of these streamers are. A lot of them are on here making it look like it's so easy, but what you don't see behind the scenes is those late nights where they had no one in the room, those years where they were grinding it out, going to shows, meeting people, promoting their shows, spending money on their shows. To me, I think you gotta make sure you don't get caught up in comparing yourself. In fact, I would highly suggest that you maybe reach out to some of those people that you admire and ask them, how did you get there? Like, how did you get to this point of being so successful? And it'll bring you back to reality and realizing that this is not easy. It's not, you can't take shortcuts. You got to grind it out, and eventually you'll get there. And the next one is just simple, ship on time. Like people come to your shows and like they're expecting a good experience, right? But when they get done, they want their cards. They want their product. So why keep their cards hostage? Like ship the
Yep.
cards. And I get it. Not everyone has a less than 1 day average of time. In fact, I actually had that 2 days ago before we did this interview. I actually
Seriously?
had, yeah, it went away, I guess, because I shipped a couple cards the second day. So
Okay.
it dropped back down to 1 day, but it's all good. I think if you can maintain 1 or 2 days, even 2 days is not terrible, but
Agreed.
1 day, you want to be at 1 day, you know what I mean? Like 1 day, but when you start going like 4 or 5 days, that's not good. You know, but
Yeah.
quality after the sale, it's important that you value that. And then my next one is my last two, value your reputation. If you value your reputation, everything that I mentioned before this is gonna fix itself. If you value your reputation, you care about shipping, you care about how you treat people, all those little things will just they'll take care of themselves. When you don't value your reputation, it speaks about your everything you do and your business model. So for me, I care about reputation. I care about how people feel when they leave my show. Sometimes I joke around in my show and like I don't intend to hurt anyone's feelings, but um, but it comes there. But at the heart of it all, I want to be a good person because I want to treat people how I want to be treated when I go to a show.
Hmm.
And then the last thing is stay consistent and enjoy the process. Like you got to be consistent with what you're doing. And if you have a bad show, don't quit the first show. It's everyone has your first question leads to that. Like, how was your first show? Your first show is not going to be great. So
Hmm.
just accept that for what it is. Stay consistent. Find a day that works for you in your life and show up every day and then get through that grind and you'll look back at it like we're looking at it right now and we're
Hmm.
talking about, I would have never thought 50,000 followers in 2 years. I never thought that was going to happen like that. But now I look back at it, it came from being consistent, working hard, and building solid relationships. So that's my advice to new streamers.
That was fantastic. There are a couple of things that really stood out. The comparison thing, right? I think what's the old adage? Comparison is the thief of joy. It's so spot on. And even yeah, I've only been doing this for a year, but yeah, I see some people like comp killers and folks. It's like, how do they get to that level? That's ridiculous. And but then I'm like, you know what? Like they did their dues, just like you said, right?
Exactly.
And
Shout
like
out.
it's a process and we'll get there. Consistency, I mean, every single person I've talked to has said consistency as far as everything that you do, from shipping fast, from nailing, like having that one time slot where everyone knows that, hey, it's Saturday at 6 a.m. Mr. P is going to be on. Let's go. And then there's one other thing. Oh yeah, I love the fact that you kind of brought up the fact that you talked about your reputation, and there's it takes a while to realize that you own your own business when
Yep.
you're streaming on whatnot. Because when you first start, you're like, hey, this is fun. I'm selling some cards online. And then all of a sudden you realize, wow, this is actually my own like legit business. And I need to worry about my reputation. I need to worry about the quality that I sell, my response times when there's issues. And I think it takes some time. So I love your advice because I hope there's some new streamers watching this going, yeah, this actually is my own business. And these reviews, especially up front, are important. So that's a great call out. I love that. Thank you for being I love the preparation by the way too. That's fantastic. Let's shift over to this is a fun question. I couldn't even imagine how many shows that you've had since you've started. But what's your number one favorite thing that you love about streaming?
I would say uh, the community. And I know it's kind of cliche, right? It's a simple answer, but the community itself, like the my first big card show that I did after Whatnot was Dallas Card Show a few months ago. And I met a lot of great streamers and that builds on your show because people, we're all little avatars, right, on Whatnot. And we're in this little virtual space and like you think you know everyone, but you don't really know everyone like you think you
True.
do. But when you meet them in person, it puts a different type of connection to it. But the community itself, everyone comes together when in time of need for a lot of different reasons. But the fact that you can go to someone and say, "Hey, man, I'm struggling with this. How do you do this? What are your techniques or tactics for this?" That piece of it all. So community overall is my
Hmm.
most important thing I love about it. You can come on and everyone likes to clown my Ravens, and like you know and like bash Lamar Jackson or whatever the case is because I'm a Ravens fan. But it's all fun and games, It's like it's an
Yeah,
outlet. It's like some people are like dealing with a lot of stressful things in life, and they come to
sure.
Whatnot like as a getaway.
Yeah.
So for me, it's the same thing. Like I'm an active duty Marine, and like I have some busy days sometimes, and sometimes I'm just like looking forward to that Saturday when I can pop on and like and meet all the virtual friends and all this good stuff. And
Hmm.
some of them become real friends in real life. So I enjoyed that piece. The other side of it is as a seller, to be able to move inventory at a rapid rate. Like you mentioned, starting off on eBay. I started off on eBay in 2021,
Hmm.
and it was just so slow. I would sell like maybe 3 or 4 cards a week or
Yeah.
whatever. And then now on Whatnot, in a couple hours, I can move 200 cards. It's insane. So it's the community and it's the amount of volume you can move on Whatnot. It's just amazing.
Yeah, so I still do eBay on the side. I typically put cards I typically know I won't do well and whatnot.
Same
And so
here.
I love that point, Sherman. Someone told me like a long time ago, the biggest difference of whatnot on eBay is you're not going to get even close to comps on whatnot, but you're going to move inventory like nobody's business. Like you cannot move that kind of inventory on eBay. And I'm not here to bash eBay, but their live selling platform is garbage.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, when I took some breaks, I went on a Fanatic. Fanatics is okay if you're in a breaks,
Yeah,
but they don't do any singles there. And eBay Live was like I feel like they were like 5 years behind the curve. It was
correct.
pretty bad. Um, I'm not gonna have eBay as a streamer now or as a sponsor after saying that. That's fine. Um, so let's talk about the actual hobby in general. Right now, like it's kind of a weird period. November and December are typically a little slow. We have the playoffs on January 10th. Right now, as we're speaking, Carolina is playing the Buccaneers. Winner gets into the playoffs, right? So like
Who's winning?
it's 13-7 Buccaneers at halftime.
Okay.
So, and then there's a big game tonight. Niners, Seattle. Good Lord. And then Ravens, Steelers.
Yes,
Who's gonna
sir.
win? Who's gonna win?
You know who's gonna win that. Do I need to pull it out? Do I need to pull it out?
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson,
There it
man.
is. There it is. Okay. Um, tell me like what's your read on the hobby right now? Are there certain players, are there certain teams that are doing well right now? With the playoffs coming up, how do you kind of pivot your strategy when it comes to inventory?
So, great question, by the way. You, as a seller, I think you have to understand that people are whatnot's it's also it's a community, but it's a hype type app as well, meaning that people want what is the hottest player right now. So you got to think about that. Like, and who's the hottest player, who's in the playoffs. Those are the players that you probably should have been buying. Like, you should be anticipating it, like buying them a week or two ago, for the playoffs. And sometimes you may get it wrong. You're not going to always get them all right. However, you can kind of anticipate based off of people's records who's going to be in the playoffs. Once they clinch that playoff berth, you should be buying some of those players, so you can keep those that feed in your chat. Like, you may not even like the player. Like, you may not like Caleb Williams, but he's a popular player. You may not like Sam Darnold because of sometimes he's been somewhat inconsistent, but he's going to be someone's going to ask for. So you got to keep some of those players around. So I look for some of those type of players. I look for case hits. I look for RPAs, liquid cards. And to your question, that is something that new streamers need to understand. Like, you at some point you have to graduate. You have to elevate your card game or show. You can't run the same things over and over again. Like, if you're running base cards, people are gonna leave. My worst shows, I thought about it. I was like, man, why isn't, some shows, even at this level, I'll be like, man, why did this show not go so well? And I look back and I analyze it and I'm like, it's because I didn't prepare properly. I didn't go out and get those cards that people were looking for. I might have not had some of those case hits or those liquid cards in my show that day, and it, as a result, sucked that day. So you have to keep in mind that people want things that either they can put in their collection or that they could also resell. And so liquid stuff.
That's so good, Sherman. Like it's so weird, and we have so we let our biases involved like get involved so much when we're buying and determining our lineup. I've never been a Sauce Gardner guy kind of guy. I've never been a Kool-Aid McKinstry kind of guy. But I was on a couple shows this morning where the seller was asking like which card you want to run, and there were like 30, 40 people in there, and they all wanted Sauce. They wanted Sauce over Genty. They wanted Gardner over Travis Hunter. And so for me, I'm always learning like just because I don't like these two players, it doesn't mean the rest of the nation doesn't either. So now it's like, okay, clearly I need to diversify a little to make sure I have more different kind of players. Because I find myself buying the cards of players that I love. And that's good for me, but it's kind of secluding a lot of people that might not love the players I love.
Yeah, I did that in the beginning. I was all Lamar Jackson and these different players. And there was a phase where when I got on 2 years ago, Lamar Jackson was MVP years in that time period. So that caused his cards to happen to be very hyped up and more popular. So it felt good that I was buying them at the right time. And it was something that I felt like, well, if I buy the card, I don't care because it's my PC. But as you stream more, it's exactly what you just said. You have to keep in mind what other people are wanting. So a little quick little pro tip. I keep a board next to me, like it's like a whiteboard, and I write on it, and I basically write down players that I don't have that people consistently ask for, so that when I go source again, I'll tell people like, hey, I'll try to get some of that, next show or whatever the case
Yep.
is, and I'll try to make sure I come back with that.
That's great. I kind of like what you said where it, you have to you have to level up as a streamer, especially as you progress. You have to, they always say like you have to zig when people zag, but like you got to think 3 to 4 weeks in advance at least, right? And
Exactly.
so the playoffs start literally in 7 days. And
Yes.
so if you haven't started buying all those locked in quarterbacks and rookies and veterans who you know are going to get all the targets, you're already
Yep.
behind the curve because you need to be stocked before the playoffs happen. Because guess what happens? I hate to say it, but if Drake May loses their first game, well, he's going to get a bye, right?
I think
He'll
so.
get a
Yeah.
bye. Yeah, so they have a bye locked in, I believe. But like, hell, if the Patriots lose their first game in the playoffs,
Yeah.
yikes.
Yeah.
Um, his market won't crumble, but there goes all the hype, right? And then
Correct.
now everyone's going to shift over to Bo Nix if Denver's still up, right? And so there's you just got to be prepared. It's kind of crazy. I'm looking at the standings right now as we talk. Like Jalen Hurts is a lock, but I don't his hobby's average. Caleb, whether you like him or not, he's going
Yeah.
to probably make a run. He's going to have to go through my Packers. We'll see how that goes. Darnold, not a hobby darling, but he's going to make a run.
Yeah.
Purdy's a good
Yeah.
one to collect.
Yep. I like
Uh,
Purdy. Purdy.
yeah. Stafford's another one that never really took off. He's just there. He's like a Goff. Um, okay, let's get back to the questions. How you doing, by the way? You good?
I'm good. Yeah.
Okay,
Loving it.
cool. Only a couple more questions. This is pretty painless, isn't it?
Yeah. It's natural.
All right, so 2026, it's here. So when you take a look at this year, we talked about making sure that we're being strategic with our business. What does business look like? Like what kind of goals and strategies do you have for this year?
I kind of already gave you a sneak preview of it, and it's really just leveling up. Like that's the short answer is leveling up. Like at 50,000 followers, I look at some of the streamers that are where I want to be at, and I look at their journey and I spoke to some of them, and some of them again they've been on the app for 4 or 5 years. I'm only at 2 years. So when I look at someone who's at 100,000, 150,000 followers, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And some people may not see it that way. They may think like, well, why aren't you doing what they're doing? Because it's not my time yet. I'm putting in my work. I'm gonna keep continue to grind. I'm gonna keep continue to bring better cars to my show. And one thing that I'm gonna do in 2026 is if I can't run a quality, solid show on my main slot, like which is Saturday, I'm not gonna run. I'm gonna make sure that I give people a certain level of expectation that they expect things that they expect of me. I want to do that for them. So, like right now, I took 2 weeks off, and it's not because I don't have the cards. I have tons of inventory, but I just need a week or two to reset with work because I had surgery a few months ago, and I'm getting back into work, so it's been very busy. And like I mentioned, I had a couple life decisions to make as far as like whether I'm going to retire from the Marine Corps and do this semi full time, or if I'm going to move to another location in the next 6 months. So we have a lot of, I guess, big family decisions to make. And then I'm gonna gradually start to do this more, and I'm gonna continue to elevate. So ultimately, I wanna do this semi full time. That's the 2026 goal is to get to that point where I'm at least doing 2 shows a week. Right now, I'm just doing Saturdays, but I won't be back on again until 17 January, so in 2 weeks. We have a big show coming up in on the 10th through the 11th, so next weekend. We have a big show out here in Hawaii, PopCon. So shout out PopCon. That's going to be a really big show. One of the biggest shows in Hawaii next weekend. So I'll be doing that, and then the following weekend I'll be back live.
It's going to be a really exciting year for you. I have no doubt whatever you decide, it's gonna work out just swimmingly for you. I'm gonna take a little. I'm gonna divert a couple things. So you live in Hawaii. I mean I went there once. Hold on, my daughter. What do you need? I love doing it live, by the way. Lucy, what do you need? Give me 1 second.
All good.
She gave me one of these. We're going to dinner soon. I love
Okay, all
when
good.
no one ever told me when you become a dad, you just get bullied around by a 4-year-old. Nobody ever told me
Do
that.
you? You have
But
a
here I
4 year. I
am.
have a 3. Okay, yeah, my daughter's approaching 4.
Oh, nice. I have a
So
three and a
she's
four. So I'm
oh
just
wow,
in it
okay.
right now.
Nice.
So anyway, back. I'll probably edit that out, but if I don't, who cares? About living in Hawaii and being in the hobby, like, does it have any additional challenges living on the island?
Well, absolutely. So first of all, Hawaii is amazing. Like
Mhm.
I was telling you guys before, like I probably haven't worn a sweater in like I would say 3 years out here. So I've been out here going on 4 years. Never really wear sweaters. It's 75, 80 degrees. The weather is amazing. But when it comes to like the card scene out here, there's a card scene out here. However, it's not there it presents certain challenges. We have three card shops. Best to Best Sports Card Shop. We have Windward Collectibles, and then we have Aloha Card Shop. So that's only three card shops on an entire island, which is Oahu, that we really go to when it comes to like local card shops. And they're amazing, but that presents challenges, obviously, when it comes to inventory, etc. So a lot of times we end up working deals at card shows, working with other guys on the ground, etc., to obtain inventory. So it's not bad out here, but there are some times where we struggle because we're competing for inventory, but it's not terrible. I think it's pretty good. We have a few card shows a year. In fact, we have one coming up this weekend.
Nice.
It's going to be PopCon. So I'm not sure if you guys ever heard of PopCon, but PopCon's a really big card show. That's going to be at the Blaisdell out in Honolulu. So that should be an interesting show. And when we have those big shows, that's like the opportunity to really procure inventory when we have our big shows.
Yeah, I bet. Are you gonna get a table, or are you just there to kind of buy?
Yeah, I will have a table there.
Oh,
Yep. So
nice.
yeah,
Excellent.
looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's one of my goals in 2026. As I've never done a show before, and I want to
Really.
definitely start doing shows. They look it's probably a lot of work, but it seems like it's a great place to get inventory, like you had said. So, who are some of your fellow Hawaiian streamers and whatnot?
Man, I don't want to miss anybody, but there's a lot. I mean, you got Pineapple Express 808, you have Zach 13 cards, you have Bombay Collectibles, you have Taco Tees 808, obviously Hawaii Grown is out here, Royal Cab 808, you got Pick and Pulls 808. There's a bunch of streamers out here, man. So if I missed anybody, I didn't mean it, but there's just so many good guys out here doing it. All up, a lot of up and coming guys doing their thing out here. So yeah,
That's
shout out to you
awesome.
guys.
So, if anyone's gonna take a trip to Hawaii, make sure you look up Mr. P. He'll give you the tour.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, hey man, I'm just gonna wrap this up. This is the first time I got to talk to you and meet you. It was when I started doing this is episode 9, by the way, already. Never thought I'd get a chance just to get online and chat with you. It's I'm very honored. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everything that you shared. This is going to be incredibly, I can tell you right away, this is going to be incredibly helpful for a lot of people, even if they're just starting streaming or if they've been streaming for years. So we appreciate you lending all this amazing advice to us. Stick around. Sherman has put together a couple tips. It'll be at the end of the credits. And then make sure you take notes because it's going to be great. So again, Sherman, thank you so much, man. Let's do this again. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, buddy. Tip, I think that's tips of the week. You get some bonus tips from Sherman, aka Mr. P's. Sherman, go ahead.
Okay, guys. So I have a couple of them. I have five, but I'll try to power through them real quick. The first one is get to 1,000 sales. So I mentioned in the video earlier that people get distracted with different things and they lose sight of comparisons and everything like that. I would say my tip of the week would be, as for a new seller, work on getting to 1,000 sales, because 1,000 sales will help you unlock immediate payout, which can offer you an opportunity to gain more inventory faster. So that's my first tip. The other one would be obviously gain a thermal printer. You have to have a thermal printer. The third one would be utilize the USPS scan sheet. So the USPS scan sheet is amazing because of the fact that if you have 100 shipments that need to go out, either you're going to use Whatnot's built-in scan feature, which is also a pretty cool feature now, to scan your items to show that it's shipped, but it doesn't mean you actually shipped anything. It just shows that it lets your buyer know that you shipped the product. Or you can use the scan sheet, which has to be downloaded, and at the same time you generate your labels. So when you generate your labels, within 24 hours of that download, you have to print that or take a picture of it, whatever. And then when you go to the post office, instead of having them scan each individual item, they scan that scan sheet, and that scans all of your items in. For me personally, I used to make my post office scan everything. because I would miss the 24-hour window of downloading it, and then I would be like, well, heck, you guys got to scan them all because I'm
And
not
they
just gonna
hate you for that, by the way. They
hate you.
hated me too.
They do hate you. Some post offices actually want to do it because they want to seem busy, but most of them won't like you. So definitely scan sheet is amazing. And then the rehearsal mode. So rehearsal mode for new streamers is amazing because if you are someone that wants to verify how your lighting is, how your setup is, how you look on camera, whatever the case is, if you want to test out how to run things, in the seller hub of Whatnot, there is a rehearsal mode that will help you go through that and test it out. But if you truly want to see how everything is to check your sound, create a private show, and it'll just be you or whoever else in the room, and no one can see it. You can go back and listen to it to see how your sound is, to see how everything looks as far as your setup and all that good stuff. So definitely rehearsal mode and private shows are awesome. And then my last tip would just be stay consistent and enjoy the ride.